All right, it's time to talk basketball. I'm Jose Salviati, editor at thepeachbasket.net. He is Steve Purciello, a longtime high school basketball coach, athletic director, and also, and I should say longtime educator and vice principal. Sorry, I left that out. I say this every single week and somehow I messed that up. But he's also the host of Celtic Chalk Talk. Celtic Chalk Talk is a pod dedicated to the latest news and opinions surrounding the Boston Celtics from a lifelong fan, Steve. That pod drops new episodes every Monday, but this is the Shot Clock Pod, the best 24 minutes of random NBA thoughts online anywhere. This podcast was born out of the content in Steve's 13 Rules random NBA thoughts articles, which he publishes weekly. Steve and I have exactly 24 minutes to discuss what's on his mind around the NBA. Today we'll discuss his latest 13 Rules random NBA thoughts article, where he shares his random thoughts after the first week of the 2025-26 NBA playoffs. All right, now, if you've gotten this far, we're grateful. I just wanted to spend a little bit of time to tell you that we are an independent, fan-driven show that's available on the Peach Basket Podcast Network. We're not owned by a big media company, which means what you hear comes straight from real fans like Steve and I. We live the game every day, just like you do. If you believe voices like ours, not just Steve and I's, but everybody on the Peach Basket Podcast Network need to be heard, the best way to support us is simple. Keep listening, tell a friend, comment, share. When this episode ends, head to the peachbasketpodcastnetwork.com and the peachbasket.net. Check out more fan-run podcasts and help this independent network grow the way it started, organically, one hoops fan at a time. We're grateful you found us. Thank you, Steve. Are you ready?
Ready.
Let's do it. I'm going to start the timer now. Now, you wrote about a bunch of different topics, as you always do. Today, we're going to do things just a little bit differently, though. I want to get your thoughts, and we could go a little bit or we can go long on each of the playoff series that are going on right now. You wrote about some, others you didn't write about. Okay. So we're going to start in the West, the number 1 Thunder against the number 8 Suns. The OKC Thunder are dominating. They're up 3-0. They don't seem to be challenged at all by the Suns. My only kind of key point here, and you didn't write about them this week, and I understand why. It's a boring series. But to me, it looks like the Thunder's path to the West got a lot clearer now with Wemby hurt and now Ant being out, which is horrible. I hate injuries. But it sounds like they're the de facto Western representative. What do you think?
Wembanyama is probably going to be back soon, so I think that it's not completely done, but I do see that they're going to at least be in the Eastern Conference Finals unless somebody gets hurt, and you don't want to see that on Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Williams is out, but they're the best team anyway in the West. It'll be easier, and you like to see what you don't like to see, but teams usually get taxed in the playoffs. They're not going to be taxed at all if they get to the finals. Maybe they'll
Yeah.
be in the conference finals, but that'll be the only. This with Phoenix. Phoenix has had a great year, and they should be happy because they overachieved.
Yeah.
However, it's a tough way to go out when you get swept by a team, but
Yeah.
it's going to happen probably.
I think it's a very strong likelihood that it happens. And then, of course, if the Thunder do get past the Suns, they've got right now, it looks like the Lakers are up 3-0 against the Rockets in a bit of a shocker. Honestly, I'm in LA. We're shocked.
The Thunder would play. The Lakers would play the Spurs. They're in third. They came in third, so they
No,
play the
Lakers came
Spurs.
in fourth.
I thought they. Oh, okay, you're right. I thought they
Yeah.
were in third. Okay,
Yeah, no, they
so
would
they.
go up against They go up against the Thunder, which is obviously a tough matchup for anybody. But if the Lakers get back Luka and they get back Austin Reeves, that kind of changes things. Now, you did write a little bit about the Lakers. You called out that LeBron James deserves a ton of credit, and he does. But the one guy that some folks are talking about, and I'm glad that you called him out here, is Marcus Smart. He single-handedly won that third game for them. I think he's just been great.
He's a winner. He's always been. I thought the last 2 years he's been hurt often after Boston traded him, but I'm glad to see him come back like this. But he's a winner, and if you get him healthy, he can help you. Smart does nothing. He defends real well, but he's one of them players that offensively gives you nothing except he wins. And he figures out how to make himself effective in every game. Some nights he can't shoot, but then he'll do other things. But
Yeah.
he's always making the right play.
Marcus Smart is the type of player that every NBA champion has on their roster. That.
The thing that's the negative with Marcus Smart is he'll wear down a coach because he's a
Mm,
very strong person and a very opinionated person. I think with LeBron there, that might have muffled him a little
yeah.
bit because I'm sure he defers to LeBron. But in his past, with Boston particularly, he was strong. And sometimes coaches don't love that. Or the security, they feel that they're being undermined. So that's the one negative of Marcus Smart, but he's a great player. It,
Yeah,
a
and
winner.
you also called out JJ Redick, and we've talked about him before. You said effectively it's hard to believe he's in his second year as an NBA coach. He's absolutely been the right pick. And remember, he wasn't even the first pick. They wanted Hurley. He turned him down, and then JJ Redick got the job. That's
Yeah,
that's been a
yeah.
that's been a lucky find for the Lakers.
It's a great find. If they can get it all together, we don't know what the iteration of them is going to be next year, but if they get it all
Right.
together, they could be a problem. The big problem is the fact that you got Shea and you got Wemby, and that's going to be hard to beat
Yeah.
in the long haul.
Let's assume the Lakers get past the Rockets. Let's assume the Thunder get past the Suns. Lakers versus Thunder. How do you see that playing out?
5 or 6, I would think Thunder. I don't. I give them the benefit 6, but unless it's one of them 1969 Mets or something where just karma is all over and they're just rolling, I just don't see the Lakers matching up to them. Oklahoma just goes so deep; they just wear you down. With these guys, just keep coming. And if you think about this, Kennard is playing. He's a good shooter. The Thunder's eighth player is Isaiah Joe, who's a pretty good shooter too. So I
Yeah,
mean, you start looking at it and say, "Oh my God, they got Kason Wallace on the bench." There's so much that it just wow, and it's impressive.
yeah. No, undeniably impressive. Let's see if that's the way it plays out, or if the Rockets make history and come back from first team in NBA history to come back from '03. I don't see it happening, but let's see how it plays out. Let's move to the East. This is a bit of a shocker. Number one Pistons against the number eight Magic. Right now, the Magic lead 2-1. You've been a fan of the Magic at the start of the season.
Yeah,
You called them out when they weren't good. Are they peaking at the right time?
something happened when they won their game against Charlotte last week. Something clicked in. All of a sudden, Banchero is playing like the All NBA player he is, and the rest of the team, Jalen Suggs has been healthy, and that's always a key for them because he's a Marcus Smart. He does the right things at the right time and makes the right plays. But something kicked in. I don't know what it is because I think Jamal Mosley was probably close to standing on the unemployment line. And
Mm,
now, if they win the series, Jamal Mosley will be around for a while. So
yeah,
something I don't quite know because it appeared that Bancaro didn't want to play for him. And now all of a sudden everything's working nice. And it's really remarkable to see. And Detroit's really on the run, and they're in a must game, I guess, tomorrow night.
for sure.
If they lose, then I think I saw a statistic. Teams down 3-1, 4% of the time has that team gone on to win the tour, win the series.
Wow.
So you don't want to fall behind 3-1. And
Mm,
for Detroit, if they do fall behind 3-1, they got two of the last three games if it went at home, so they have an outside. They can pull it off, but
yeah.
I don't know if they have it to pull it off.
Yeah. Very interesting series. I think a number eight seed has defeated a number one seed in playoffs, NBA history playoffs, 6 times. It'd be wild if this happens, and this is number seven. Stay in the East. We got the Cavs and the Raptors. Now, you did write about this one, and you didn't say anything nice about the Cavaliers. They looked great in the first 2 games, and they looked okay in the third game up until apparently the fourth quarter. What happened to the Cavs, and are they gonna escape the
They
Raptors?
gave up 43 points, is what happened.
That's crazy.
I don't think the Raptors are good enough to pull it off. But it told you something about the Cavaliers. This was the fourth quarter when you're breaking down. That's not a good thing. It's just not good. And the other thing too now is Harden going to play well in the playoffs? Has always been a question. I don't see the Cavaliers. If they lose this series, my goodness, people will lose jobs.
Yeah.
But I don't see it. The Raptors have been terrible against good teams all year, so I don't see it changing.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised to see them pull off that win, honestly. And that game just tipped game four. So that's something I know you and I will be watching when as soon as we finish up this show. Now, I hate to do this, but I'm going to backtrack because we talked
Sure.
a lot about the Lakers with the Lakers and the Rockets, but you wrote about the Rockets too. And the headline is Rockets facing tough questions. And it's true. Who's to blame here? Is it the coach? Is it the general manager? Is it the players? Is it all three? What's your take?
I think it goes around all over the place. We could start with the general manager. It's been well publicized, but he took Reed Shepherd, and the guy that was chosen right after that in the draft was Stefan Castle.
Wow.
If he had Castle, I think they'd be singing a different tune right now.
Yeah.
So he takes some blame. Ime Udoka takes some blame because his act is interesting. When they lose, it's not his fault. It's always someone else's fault, and that's what he's doing now. And you know what? I'm sure the players aren't happy about their situation, but they really aren't happy about being denigrated by the coach who's throwing them under the bus while he says he's clean. So that's a problem, and players at some point say to hell with him. And especially if they know he's on ready to get fired, they won't play. So
Yeah.
that's a problem. And then you have Kevin Durant. I guess this is the curse of Durant because wherever he goes outside of Golden State, there's a problem.
Yeah.
And I think when he did the burner phone thing with the criticizing teammates, I don't quite understand it. This guy's got the whole world at his fingertips, and he's going to knock his teammates. Even if you feel that way, just shut up and play.
Yeah.
And you want to go out. He's going to go out a great player naturally, top 10, top 20 all time. But he's also going to go out as people wondering about what kind of character he has.
Yeah.
And that's not real good. When I'm going to use LeBron, I'm sure he's got strong opinions, but I would think he's not really quick on knocking anybody. And he's beloved by his teammates always. So there's a difference here, and that's a really interesting thing.
Yeah. Uh, Let's dive into that a little bit. We got more to
Sure.
talk about, but I think it's an interesting topic. Number one, and I called this out too myself. I'm calling myself out here. I thought when I think of Durant, I thought the only success he had at Golden State, but he did take that OKC Thunder team to the finals, so he
Yeah, he
had
did.
some success there. But then since then, it's been a whole lot of nothing, unfortunately. But you called out character, and I know we chatted a little bit about this before. I, if I'm building a team, I would think character is low in the totem pole, right? I want somebody who can pass. I want a baller. I want somebody who can play the game. But character is important, isn't it?
Of course, you want the talent. I think everybody in the world who coaches in any on any level thinks they can take the pain in the neck and make them play for them.
You're right.
That person has a piece on everybody. In other words, everybody gets tired of that act, and it wears people down.
Yeah.
I think like sometimes you got a character but not as good a player, but a very talented player. I go for that character guy because when you build a team, you look and you want a team that's all together, in it together. If you watch the NBA playoffs now, pay particular notice when somebody does something good on a team, what the teammates are doing from the bench. Because you'll learn a lot. If you see it more subdued, it's not a together team. If you see everybody up and into it, and the camera often pans to that, you
Yeah.
kind of realize this team, they buy in. And then also watch at the end of a game or whatever, or at any time, if a star player has the ball and he's doubled or whatever, does he force the shot or kick the ball? If he kicks it, he trusts his teammates. And I'm sure the teammates know that and they like that. Want guys that demonstrate that ability to trust their teammates and like their teammates. And you want teammates who are all in it with that guy. So
Yeah.
to me, that's where the character comes in. And I don't think you can get enough of character. And I'm going to use Shea Gilgis Alexander. He's beloved by his teammates.
Yeah.
And I think that goes a long way. And he's the first one to point out somebody else who's done well on the team and not looking for press and all that about himself. And I think that's so important for players
Yeah.
and in building teams. I think that's important, especially particularly with bench players. And that's why guys like Jared Dudley, who's still in the NBA, or Garrett Temple, because they're, and Joe Ingles is a perfect example. Those
Yeah.
are people that are supportive and good teammates. That's why they stick around. When a guy's talented but is a bit of a pain, as soon as that talent starts slacking off, he's out of the NBA. And you can take notice to that. You know, I said Dudley, and people don't even probably know he's still in the league, nor do they know Joe Ingles is. But they are because, and you know what? The beauty of that, they're making a couple $1 million a year for sitting around. And DeAndre Jordan is another one I think about. So acting correctly. And I don't know many jobs. I think if DeAndre Jordan retired, I don't know many jobs out there that'll pay him a couple $1 million a year. So because he's a good person, he's
Yeah.
sticking around.
Yeah, the first person that comes to mind when you're rattling off those names was Udonis Haslem, right? Who is a good player,
Yep,
actually had a really nice send off and played really well in his last game, but he was there because of who he was,
yep.
not because of his talent necessarily. And there are a lot of players like that. And hope you can see them go the route that Jared Dudley did to coach. And I think that, I don't know if DeAndre Jordan, famous Los Angeles Clipper, has that in him, but I think that that's what you like to see for players like
Of
that
course.
who are really good, who have a great mindset and are well liked. Let's see them move into coaching. All right, let's.
Just one more,
Oh,
one more
oh,
comment. One more
yeah,
comment on that. A lot of people my age are from a generation where the coach told you and you did it.
yeah,
We're not in that anymore.
yeah,
And if your star player 50 years ago was told to do something different, he did it.
yeah,
Today, if you ask your star player to do something different, he needs to approve. And we can complain about the ages and all, but things change. And
yeah,
we need to understand things change and accept that. So the most important thing a coach can do is not draw X's and O's, but make sure everybody likes each other and works together. And
yeah.
that means he's got to be the leader, and players have to respond to that.
Yeah, no easy task. And I firmly believe that shift started when Magic Johnson didn't like Paul Westhead and made it known. Next thing, Westhead's out, Riley's in, changed everything. That gave the green light to players to say, I can push back a little bit. Wasn't that it?
I don't know. Yeah, probably was, but you're totally right. You're totally right. And I think that's where things change. And older people think it's 50, 60 years, whatever it is, years ago, where Red Auerbach is saying you do this and everybody's doing it. That's
Yeah,
not happening. It's
no,
over. And
yeah,
now it's a whole different game. And basically, a coach is partners with a star player.
yeah.
And the first thing you think about as a coach is how do I get along with that guy? Because if I don't, he's going to poison the well and I'm done.
Phil Jackson actually commented on that and said a big part of his job was just mental, just connecting with these guys mentally, which is so wild. Because do you think Red Auerbach ever cared the
No.
mentality or how anybody was feeling?
But don't forget, in Arbach's time, nobody made a lot of money.
True. Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
you're making a couple million a year and you're going to tell a guy making 30 million a year, there's a little difference with 3 more years on his contract. There's a
Right.
little difference. And that's where the thing has changed.
Yeah. No doubt. All right, let's stay in the East and talk about what I think is an interesting series, one that is a little bit more competitive than I thought it was going to be, and that's Knicks versus the Hawks. Right now, it's tied 2-2. And you called out in your article the impact that Kaminga has had. He's been really good. Now, he's a little bit of up and down guy. He obviously had his troubles with Golden State, but he's been a difference maker in this series. Do you see he and the Hawks pulling off the upset?
Well, first of all, last night he came back to the other side. He was terrible.
Yeah.
So what do I say? The Hawks are the Hawks. They're going to do what they do. The whole series is about the Knicks. Do
Yeah.
they play basketball or do they revert back to their bad tendencies? If they play basketball, they're a much better team and they'll win. If they revert back like they did twice in this series and did during the season, where they played a couple of games, oh my God, here they come, and then they fall apart and they play poorly, you're going to see a series, meaning it'll go seven. But I don't see it. I just think the Knicks are just much better than the Hawks. The Hawks are relying on a 34-year-old man who's scoring a ton and has really been great.
Yeah.
But and when he was with Washington a couple of months ago, anybody could have gotten him if they wanted to pay him.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
So it's a little different. And one more piece on the Hawks. Everybody has anointed Jalen Johnson to become the next superstar. And you could tell me Anunoby is guarding him and he's great on the. You know what? A star is a star. And a star figures it out and figures out how to become effective and score. I'm watching Jalen Johnson turn shots down. I'm watching him kicking the ball, not looking to take it. If you're the star, you've got to come up big, and he hasn't
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah. Pretty good segue to, I think, the other series, and that's the Nuggets Timberwolves series. You've got arguably one of the best players in the NBA over the last 5 years being guarded by the Defensive Player of the Year. Now, Gobert is getting his props, but when you look at Jokic's numbers, he's still averaging pretty much a triple double in this series. So that's where the stars are still going to do it, no matter who is guarding them. They find a way to do it. But Minnesota's up 3-1. Now they've got Dante DiVincenzo's out now, unfortunately. Ant is going to be out several weeks. Do the Nuggets come back and win this now? How do you see this playing out? It's just a
I,
tough break for the Wolves.
I thought Alex Gordon was a key in this thing, and he's out or he's playing, but he's hurt. And then the other thing too, Jokic might be getting his numbers, but he's really not shooting at a high percentage,
Yeah.
and he's making them work. What's really surprising though, didn't Minnesota try this with Gobert before, and it didn't work? How come it's working all of a sudden?
Try
And
what?
have Gobert guard Jokic.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's working. I don't know why, but that's the really surprising piece to this. And they do need Murray to step up and play like Murray. It's not happening. You can come up with a lot of answers. Are they worn out from a long season? I don't know. But or is maybe Jokic starting to show a little bit of wear? He's getting a little
Mm,
older. So there's a lot of things you think about because to me, Jokic in his methodical way is unstoppable. And
yeah.
and he's been stoppable in this. So
Yeah.
that's my take.
Yeah. And you called out Aaron Gordon, right? That is, he's an important piece for this team, and he's hobbled. It seems like every year when we talk about the playoffs, we talk about injuries, and it's so unfortunate.
Yeah.
And the only team right now, when I look at them, even the Thunder, I was going to call it the Thunder, but even you
Yeah.
mentioned
What
Jalen Williams is out. So yeah, there is no healthy team. It's just going to be the team that hobbles to the finish line like every year.
crazy thought. Are the athletes of today in all sports so big, so strong
Yeah.
that injuries are just going to happen? Soft tissue or whatever, but they're going to happen because their body, the players weren't as big and strong 40 years ago, 50 years ago. Is that a problem and that why the wear and tear is just so much? And you go
Mhm.
back, I'm going to guess 15 years ago, teams would play 4 games in 5 nights all the time. Now they don't do that on the schedule. So they've tried to make the schedule easier and do a lot of things, but guys are just their bodies aren't handling
Yeah.
the amount of games they're playing.
Yeah, and LeBron gets a lot of publicity for spending millions of dollars on his body, and what we've seen is amazing, right? 41 years old, dominating a playoff, which is just mind boggling. But even he, right, is hurt and misses time. So I think it's all of that, plus the fact that we're asking them to play 82 games in a compressed time. And I wish the NBA would do something about that. But money's going to dictate how long the season is,
Yeah,
and we're not going to shorten the season. And it's unfortunate because you're just never going to get a true NBA champion. And by true NBA champion, I just mean this: every team healthy. That would just
but
be amazing. I just
over.
think that's, yeah, we'll never see that,
It's not.
unfortunately.
It's just the way it is. These guys are just such strong, physical athletes, and this is in all sports. It's happening. In baseball, you watch if a guy plays a
Hmm.
night game, he's a catcher. He doesn't play the next if it's an afternoon game, and
Yeah.
there's just so much more sitting out. Where years ago, guys just played every day.
Yeah.
So it's changing in all sports.
Yeah, it's sad to see, and it's sadder still when you know that the right fix, shortening the season, is just not on the table. But that's it. You heard our buzzer go off. Our time is up. We didn't get to talk Spurs, Trailblazers. Steve wrote about it. We didn't get to talk Celtics, Sixers, and I'm sure that's going to come up in Celtic Chalk Talk tomorrow. So make sure you follow along there. But that is it. Our time is up. We have yet another shot clock violation. It's what we do. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Make sure to read Steve's entire 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts article. We will link it wherever you're watching or listening to this right now. And join us next week for more NBA Random Thoughts as we recap the second week of the 2025-26 NBA playoffs. We'll talk next week. Thanks, Steve.
Take care.